I was working on the garage this weekend with the wife, cleaning out some boxes and trying to organize things. I came across a college paper that I wrote in 1998. Those of you who have taken philosophy classes probably appreciate this. Some of you might think that it's totally ludicrous and insane. It's very sane, and it has to do with concepts that, unless you have education in this area, you would never have known that this is the way that things really work. So anyway, it has to do with philosophy, and I'll never forget the first day of my philosophy class when I was a freshman in college. The very first day, the professor started asking a series of questions. He said, "How do you know that you're sitting here right now? And how do you know your car's parked outside?" I mean, off the wall. I mean, I was totally weirded out. I was like, this dude's freaking crazy, man. What's he talking about? And then he goes, he starts questioning people in depth. He's like, well, explain to me how you know 100% sure that your car's parked outside. Someone could have stolen it 5 minutes ago. You don't know 100%. And he just goes on, and he started talking about, how do you know that you're really right here, right now, and just all this crazy stuff. But so anyway, I thought I'd share this paper I wrote. It's just a couple pages here. Take just 2 minutes, I think, to read it, 2 or 3 minutes. And just things to think about. I enjoy thinking about these things. I mean, I wouldn't think about them all the time because I don't know. Anyway, you'll understand what I mean here in a minute. So, you might have heard about, what if I were to tell you that the world you live in is colorless, soundless, tasteless, odorless, and neither hot nor cold? This is a paper I wrote entitled, "It's All in Your Mind." Most likely your first impression would be that I'm some type of lunatic. Although if you were able to understand the idea of sense data, your first impression of me would have been amazingly incorrect, and you'd no longer be sure of reality as you've always thought that you were. First, I'm going to give you a couple examples of what sense data is, and then I'm going to go on to prove the fact that nothing like color and sound or taste, any of that stuff, doesn't exist. Let's consider that every material thing in existence has both primary and secondary qualities. We'll take this pen, for example. The primary qualities, such as the size, shape, and solidity. The secondary qualities are the color, taste, sound, smell, which only exist in our mind as sense data. The qualities are all subjective and don't belong to the object. From the beginning of the existence of each and every one of us, we've been compiling sensations in our database in our minds. Of all the physical objects we have ever perceived, we have sense data of their primary and secondary qualities. With the exception of a colorblind person, all of us have sense data of the different colors that we agree on, and we've given them names. Now the eyes have 3 receptors, yellow, blue, and red. And a colorblind person's missing one of those generally, and they can't see the colors. Now if you're missing all of those, there is no color. Because there is no color. Color's all in your mind, and that's what I'm going on to explain here. If you take clouds, for example, and you ask people what color clouds are, most people say, well, clouds are white. On a rainy day, they're gray. So, there's nothing inherent in the cloud that's either white or gray. And then like a sunset, someone may say it's orange, someone may say it's red. 2 people stand side by side looking at the same sunset. But what color would the clouds be if we could place them under a microscope? The answer to these questions are actually quite simple. The clouds must contain something that causes a sense data of their color at any given time. In actuality, there's nothing in the clouds that's either white, gray, red, or orange. The sunset colors. We have the sensation of the color we see through minute particles of light in the air bouncing off the thing and communicating different motions to the optic nerves. Now, light is electromagnetic radiation of a wavelength. So all there is these wavelengths, and then we have the receptors to determine the color. But it's pretty trivial to walk around and think that we live in a colorless world. It has color because of the receptors in our eyes. The quality of these objects gives sensations of. I'm sorry. All this talk about colors brings me to hot, cold, and taste. Ice is cold, fire's hot, right? Sugar tastes sweet, and lemon tastes bitter. Well, all these sensations can give pleasure and pain sensation. The qualities of these objects, some of them are sweet, something sweet can appear bitter to a distempered palate. And one person may claim that the food tastes delightful while another one is disgusted by the taste. However, this couldn't be the case if the taste was something inherent in the food. It's just perceived, whether it's good or bad. Another quality we believe that certain objects possess is sound. This is my favorite, sound. But why is this so when sound doesn't even exist? The whole thing about the tree falling in the forest, whether it makes a sound or not. Once I understood, that there is no sound, things started to get more clear. For me, I think this, when I started out in college, when I started to wake up a little bit and see and realize that the world isn't what I always thought it was, and I'm still learning that now. I mean, with all the research I do now and the symbolism that I study and things, I'm learning that nothing operates the way that we've been taught in school. That's just not the way that things are. And reality, you can go off on a whole tangent talking about what reality is. So, the tree falls in the forest and there's waves in the air. And that's it. And I heard someone say once, well, you put a tape recorder there and it'll record the sound because there's a sound there. No, but you have to remember, you take away anything like, an eardrum or any type of piece of equipment that can read the waves, all there are waves. There's no sound. You have to be able to separate yourself from the tree falling. There's no sound. Sound doesn't exist. We live in a quiet world. It's pretty incredible, but there's no sound, there's no color, there's no anything. I'm sure a lot of you have studied this, come across this. Maybe some of you have never heard this. It's pretty incredible stuff, but it's just you can research this yourself. This is the way it is. So if you hit a bell, there's a sound, but if the same bell is struck while in an exhausted receiver of an air pump, there is no sound. The eardrum is not struck by anything, hence there's no vibration from which the auditory nerves can communicate to the brain. So if you pound on the table, there's a sound. You hear that. But without a mind around here, to perceive the sensation of the sound, all that exists is merely vibrative motion in the air, just sound waves. So in our mind, we have sense data of primary and secondary qualities of any material object. However, the difference between these qualities is that if there's no mind in the world to perceive these objects, they would still have their primary qualities. The pen would still have its size and shape and stuff, but there's no color to the pen. And there wasn't a sound right there either. On the contrary, without a mind, none of the secondary qualities exist because they're all mind dependent. So our biggest problem as human beings is that we take everything for granted. It's just being the way it is. We all live in our own little reality, but in actuality, we will never know how external world really exists because we rely on the senses, and everything about an object, aside from its primary qualities, are all in your mind and not really any part of the object. So anyway, I wanted to share that, and wanted to point out one thing. think I might have pointed this out before. I wanted to point out this symbol. I've been studying symbolism, and if you want to Google FASCI, fasci, has to do with fascism. And a fasci is a bundle of sticks with a hatchet in the middle. It's a Roman symbol. And it's been all around. But, unless you study these things, you don't really know. There's so much going on that most people have no clue. And the more that I learn, the more I understand how stupid and ignorant I am to how much there is to know. Just the more you know, the more you find out how much you don't know. And it's an incredible thing. That's just the way it is. There's so much to know, but I really enjoy studying symbolism. I'll have to do a video on that at some point. But you might not know that this fascist symbol, which in the Roman times it said that the sticks was used to give people lashes, and the hatchet was to execute them. It's a symbol that it's a radical, authoritarian, nationalist political ideology. Fascists seek to rejuvenate their nation based on commitment to the national community. Blah, blah, blah. It's a totalitarian symbol, the fasci. And if you Google FASCI, you'll see where it's all over the place. It's, where the president gives his address in the House of Representatives. There's 2 of them on the walls. It's on the back of the dime. It's, the eagle is standing on it, on the back of the quarter. We have it all over the place. Mussolini used it on his horse. It's one of his favorite symbols. And, the Romans used it. I've had people tell me, it just represents that the United States is a powerful country. I don't know if that's true or not. It seems funny to me that the symbol's all over the place, and what it meant to, past civilizations or past countries, somehow it doesn't mean that anymore.